When we think about God's character, we often picture someone who loves us without end, like the kindest parent. But the Bible also tells us God is a strict judge, always fair, who makes sure everyone faces their mistakes. It seems tricky to imagine how God can be both full of endless love and perfectly fair at the same time. Justice implies firm, unwavering standards and consequences, while love suggests mercy, forgiveness, and endless patience.
I button you.
Two attributes that seem to be forever in conflict. How can a God who punishes wrongdoers also be so unbelievably kind? This big question is what we'll explore to see if these two seemingly opposite sides of God can actually work together perfectly. There is a story about an old widow, a farmer, and a king. In a small nation, a terrible drought struck the land. For a whole year, the skies gave no rain, and the harvests failed. Food became scarce, hunger spread, and desperation took hold. People began stealing from their neighbors' shops,
15 minutes to go out there and steal me something.
and even livestock went missing in the night. To restore order, the king issued a law. Anyone caught stealing would be imprisoned underground for 2 full years. The punishment was harsh, but so was the time. The law quickly spread across the land, and soon no one dared to steal. Eventually, the drought ended. Rain returned to the earth, and the farms yielded crops in abundance. Food was no longer a problem. But then came a poor widow and her young son, caught stealing a single watermelon out of hunger. She was captured and brought before the court. Many good people stood with her, saying,
That law was made for a different time. It should no longer apply.
"We humbly ask for a royal pardon."
2 years of solitary confinement is too cruel.
If the king does not forgive her, he is no longer my king.
I have brought 2 watermelons for the plaintiff.
The king had the power to dismiss the charges. He could have declared the law null, rewritten it, or even imprisoned the complaining farmer out of spite, yet still gained the favor of the people. But the story ends with the widow serving the full 2 years of her sentence. Why didn't the king just nullify the law or at least change it? Because law is above even the Creator itself. The law is born as the character of the subjects it governs, and it serves a greater purpose of deciding what's good and right. If the law is good, then there is no reason to change it. Though he could not change the law, the good king and his people turned their hearts toward compassion. They took care of the widow's child. They visited the woman during her imprisonment. And in time, the farmer who insisted on punishment for a single stolen fruit found himself shunned by the very society he sought to protect. The principle that law must be held above everything, often referred to as the rule of law, is the bedrock of a just, stable, and prosperous society. It is not merely a collection of rules, but a foundational concept that ensures fairness, protects fundamental rights, and prevents the descent into chaos and tyranny. When law is supreme, it means that no one, regardless of their wealth, power, or position, is beyond its reach, not even the king himself. Let's go into a case story. There is an agreement within a family to manage the household chores. The son is responsible for feeding the pets, the daughter for sweeping and mopping the floor, the mother for cooking, and the father for washing the dishes. Each person understands that there are consequences if anyone fails to fulfill their duty. The very next week, the son neglects his responsibility. According to the agreement, his punishment is to sleep outside the house. What would you do to your boy if you were the father? These two stories share a strong similarity, though the weight of the violation differs, yet the ultimate question remains the same. To forgive or to punish? First, let's assign colors to the two buttons. Which one is more appropriate for red and which one is blue? I would guess blue is for forgiveness and red is for punishment. How can I tell? Well, statistic. The majority decided that very outcome. In fact, a red button tends to imply executions and give a sense of urgency, danger, and warning. It also suggests irreversible consequences and the need for quick action. Blue, on the other hand, evokes feelings of calmness, serenity, trust, reliability, and safety. To determine which color is suitable for each action, we can use the principles of color psychology. Color psychology is the study of how colors and hues influence human behavior, emotions, and perceptions. It explores the fascinating connections between the colors we see and the feelings, moods, and even physiological responses they evoke within us. However, that psychological approach cannot be the standard for determining right from wrong. The Bible, in contrast, associates the color blue with punishment. The Bible consistently presents God's commandments as binding and enforceable. For this reason, symbols were given to the people as reminders. The color blue was used to remind them of the Lord's commandments regarding law and judgment, signifying that those who transgress will face the consequences. And red is forgiving one. The red blood of Jesus is the symbol of reconciliation and remission of sin. Finally, choosing what color to see an action in depends highly on perspective. And we want to use the Bible's perspective to decide what is just and what is love. Based on the story of the king's law, it might seem that compromise is never the answer. The law is the law. No exceptions, no probation. This straightforward, unyielding approach appears to be the only way. And indeed, that would be the conclusion if we only looked at the problem from a single perspective.
I can't see anything.
Use your open eye, Frank.
But after we switch the color for the buttons and justify the meaning, a more profound solution emerges, one that expresses the character of God. Instead of casting him out alone, his family decides, "We will all sleep outside tonight." Suddenly, the weight of the consequence feels lighter in the boy's eyes, not because the punishment is gone, but because the burden is shared. This shared hardship is not a form of recreation. It is a serious lesson in accountability, made bearable by love. Of course, the boy's family did not deserve the punishment. They did not violate the agreement, but they chose to share in the consequences because that is what a family does. More than that, this is the very definition of love, to willingly take on another's burden. This family's sacrifice is a mirror reflecting the same love God has for us, his people. The Bible captures this ultimate act of shared consequence in the Gospel of John.
John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
It often takes only a subtle shift in our perspective to witness the profound nature of all his works. With this simple tweak in our understanding, we can begin to appreciate the intricate beauty of his design and resolve a paradox that has challenged thinkers for ages. God is both infinitely loving and perfectly just.